I was living in New Mexico, Santa Fe, and I'd been hearing about the scene down here, and finally got a show through my manager at the time. Somehow, I don't know how he did it, but he got me a gig opening for Ray Wylie Hubbard at the Austin Opera House, because that would have been in the early 70s. Came down and did that, and then we made some friends and some contacts, and then Rod Kennedy went ahead and brought me into the Kerrville Folk Festival without ever having heard me live, and that was, I think, maybe the only time he ever did that.
When shadows fall where you lay sleeping in that dark hour before the dawn, your breathing calm, your lone heart beating, give me the strength to carry on. My darling one, you are my touchstone, my guiding light. Shines through this world's obstruction. The road to you is my journey home.
We got the Kerrville Folk Festival, and then we got a gig at the Backstage, which was a little club right near the Opera House where a lot of people would hang out after shows. And he got me a gig there, and nobody knew that I was bringing a 7-piece band down. He had a 7-piece band. And so we all came down from Santa Fe with the very young Christine Albert, and we went to the Kerrville Folk Festival. We showed up at the Kerrville Folk Festival, and he was expecting me solo. So I showed up with a van, filled with hippies, but he was very gracious, and Rod Kennedy was very gracious, and we had a great show, and then we went and played the Backstage, and I was hooked. I loved the place, I loved the scene. I had no idea that there would be a fan base like this, and that, I think, was one of the things that I've always loved over the years. Was there were these people that just love to hear music. They love to hear live music.
My heart's been claimed since we came together. The girl I was, I can't recall. Your love has changed me for the better, the way that love can change us all.
In Austin, there's just such a huge fan base that it doesn't really matter, who's playing where. People will come see you, If they are your fans, they'll come. So it's been wonderful, and it's one of the reasons I think I would never leave.
Through this world's obstruction, the road to you is my journey home.
And my dad was a folk singer. He had a band in the 50s called the Easy Riders, and he was a very successful songwriter. He was really one of the people who brought folk music into the pop music sphere in the 50s. All Day, All Night, Marianne, which was his take on an old Trinidad folk song. But he also wrote the beautiful Green Fields, once there were green fields, and his songs were hits all over the world. So he wrote for Walt Disney. His songs were recorded by everyone from in the 40s, from Frankie Laine and Mitch Miller, and then Dean Martin, Harry Belafonte, Little Richard, Johnny Cash, and then even up to just a few years ago, the White Stripes cut one of his songs. So he really was covered by a lot of different artists, and he was very respected in the folk world. So that was the shadow, and the light, for me was my dad.
My father made it pretty damn good living, playing music on the beauty way. He's gonna die with some money in his pocket. Wish I could do the same today, little darling. Wish I could do the same today. blue-eyed kid and a little transistor tuned into Wolfman Jack. Picked up a guitar, heard the sirens whisper, and I never looked back, little darling, and I never looked back.
I remember meeting Jimmy Dale and Butch Hancock and David Halley, and I went over to the Alamo. It was an Alamo Hotel, and it was a little folk club, and I met all those guys over there. I met Lucinda, and they just made me feel so welcome, and they all said, you got to come down here and hang out with us and play.
I felt the lights on the big league stages, the fire burning in my soul. I had those nights when my guitar rages, but it's not something you control, little darling, it's not something you control.
When I came to town, I was really attracted to the singer-songwriter folk scene, but there was also this temptation to try and get into the pop thing because I was still young enough and had some songs. So during the 80s, I did try. I had like a mullet and I had these jumpsuits, and I put my acoustic guitar in the closet, and I didn't pull it out for 7 or 8 years. I never even touched my acoustic guitar. I only played electric, and it really never went anywhere. I never went anywhere with it. And it wasn't until years later when I remember pulling the acoustic guitar. It was dusty, and pulling it out of the closet and just going, what, you know, there's something here for me. And getting back in touch with my roots as just a little folk singer, you know, it was humbling and it was right. And things started happening for me after that.
Hey, hey. Hey, yeah. Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Playing solo is very demanding because you have nothing to, you know, turn to. It's up to you to connect with them. And that's also your salvation because you can't turn and depend on somebody else, so you have to go to them. And really, it's like fly fishing to me, playing solo. You send out a line, you see if somebody's going to get hooked, and if that doesn't work, then you move upstream, you try another pool. You know, you have to keep trying things to find out what is it that engages people. It's more than performance. It's more than performing a song. It's about communicating humanness, vulnerability, relaxed storytelling, and that's what solo depends on. You've got to be able to tell a good story. You've got to be able to laugh at yourself. It's a lot of pressure, but once you kind of figure out that all you got to do is be yourself, well, you know, then you don't have to worry anymore. Then you don't have to prepare. You're just yourself, and that seems to work.
And when that sad day comes upon us,
songwriting has served me well. It's been the way to tell my story, and hopefully the story of my generation in a lot of ways too, and of the time that we live in.
and we will know we kept love's promise and wasted not our precious time, my darling one.
I worry about it, what kind of world my grandkids are going to have and inherit, and these things come up in my music, as well as the beautiful things that are still worth living for and worth fighting for in the world. So that's pretty much what I chronicle.
This world's obstruction, the road to you is my journey home. The road to you is my journey.